Hello there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Paul. I'm also called Knick-Knack, and I'm the brains behind Knick-Knack's Daily Teaser. It's a daily teaser quiz that you'll see floating past at least once a day, and has done for quite a long time now. Yes, I will be posting a quiz on Christmas Day. It's a great theme. I'm also somebody who watches TV shows. I'm currently watching The Evil of the Daleks, the classic Doctor Who series, in a sort of fairly traditional way. In other words, one episode a week for the next few weeks. It's looking good so far, and I've just seen episode 2. I also watch movies as well, and I try to watch them as often as I can, in the awareness that it takes me quite a long time to do a written post about films I've seen, and to do the video that goes with that written review. Saying that, it's the day after I've watched the most recent James Bond film, No Time to Die, and I wanted to tell you all about it. First things first, it's bloody good.
There may be spoilers.
No Time to Die's pre-title sequence, or the traditional Bond pre-title sequence, opens in a house in, as far as we can tell, the icier stretches and more rural stretches of Norway. It's a house that a mysterious masked figure is slowly walking towards. It's one that, we see, is home to a young girl who witnesses her mother's death, her mother's murder, at the hands of that masked figure. And it's a home that sees her escape death at his hands by the skin of her teeth and a couple of inches of ice. The masked man, Lucifer Safin, is feeling merciful. We shift forward to 5 years later, or to just 5 years ago, where the girl has grown into psychotherapist Madeline Swan, played by Leah Seydoux, now living with the off-duty James Bond, Daniel Craig, in a quiet part of Italy. When Spectre assassins try to kill Bond whilst he's at Vesper Lynd's tomb, Bond feels that Madeline has betrayed him and sold out their position to Spectre. And whilst the pair are being chased by more Spectre assassins, Bond puts her on a train out of town, simultaneously keeping her safe, getting her to somewhere else, and ending the relationship. Post-titles, the scene shifts to London, where disguised figures are abseiling down an unidentified office building to open a window that's part way down and get into an unregistered lab run by MI6 scientist Valdo Obruchev, Daniel Denchik. The lab is working on the highly secret Project Heracles, a deadly bioweapon that can be programmed to kill one specific individual or their whole family. It seems that somebody has caught wind of the project and wants it for their own ends. Someone who's got the habit of occasionally wearing a mask. M, head of MI6 and played by Ralph Fiennes, suspects that Spectre, or their captured head Blofeld, might be involved. M also sees no other option than to send in 007 to investigate the trail, a trail that is also being investigated by Felix Leiter of the CIA. He's working with a retired MI6 officer called Commander James Bond. Now, what did I make of No Time to Die? What did I think of it? And where do I think the franchise is heading next? Who do I think is going to be playing Bond next? That last question, I think, is possibly the easiest. I know in the run-up to No Time to Die being released, we had plenty of discussions about a black or female James Bond. Call me old-fashioned, I don't know that a female James Bond is necessarily appropriate, unless the character is found to have gender dysphoria and feels transitioning is an appropriate thing to do. That's the only way I could see that happening. And it's also something I don't feel is justified in the original novels. Bond is quite definitely and quite assertively male. Granted, he spends a lot of time in the earlier novels gobbling more benzodrine than's good for anybody, which gets ignored in a modern movie franchise, but I don't think that drug use and transitioning necessarily compatible or comparable. We ignore the drug use. If he transitioned as part of his story, it would have been mentioned. It's not. That's not to say 007 can't be a woman. The Lashana Lynch character, Nomi, is 007. She's an MI6 agent with a license to kill, and as she says herself in the film, did Bond think the number was going to get retired after he did? It's not. 007 and James Bond are two different things, and Noomi. Effectively, Noomi, Bond, and 007 are three different people. Noomi is an active officer of Britain's Secret Intelligence Service, and she's been assigned...
It's 21:30.
She's been assigned the 007 number. The second, James Bond, is a retired officer that had that number, and the third, the number itself, 007, is a job title, payroll number, and a license to kill. So having Lynch as part of this film is a much-needed reminder that 007 can be anybody. The next sort of logical question, can the next Bond be a person of colour? I wouldn't say no. I really wouldn't. I'm thinking of Idris Elba here as a potential actor for James Bond, because I think he's a person capable of playing the part, or certainly in acting terms. But I'm also very aware, having read a few of the Bond novels, that the character is described as being of mixed Scottish and Swiss ancestry, European in other words, and looks like the white American jazz singer Hoagy Carmichael. Like I say, I have no personal objection to someone of colour playing the part. There are plenty of people around capable of doing it. David Salmon, that's another name that just springs to mind there. Idris Elba would certainly be a good choice. Actually, I'll be honest, I think Idris Elba would make a far better choice as Sam Vimes, the Terry Pratchett character. The few times I've seen him in Luther, I think Elba projects exactly the right amount of, excuse the language, twatted offness to play Sam Vimes and play the character very well. The fact that Terry Pratchett never gave a description of his characters, beyond some very basic ones for the Three Witches, means that a black British actor is just as capable of playing the role as a white one. I don't know that we can say the same of Bond, given that we know Fleming, in a couple of the books, describes Bond's appearance. Very definitely white, very definitely looking like Hoagy Carmichael. My personal preference for the next James Bond would be Henry Cavill. He's a competent actor, he's got the right sort of physique, we know he works out quite well, he's used to action roles, he vaguely looks like Hoagy Carmichael, and he's got the same initials, which possibly isn't the best reason. But there we go. That's what I'm thinking. That's who I think should play it. We'll have to see what happens there. The film itself. A while back, I covered Series 13 of Doctor Who Flux, the 6-part storyline. And to be frank with you, I found the middle 4 stories, War of the Sontarans, Once Upon a Time, Village of the Angels, and Survivors of the Flux, to be some of the more formidable episodes of the New Who I'd seen. I also think they're some of Chris Chibnall's best. The first and last episodes, on the other hand, Halloween Apocalypse and The Vanquishers, weren't quite on the same par. They're very good, don't get me wrong, but they weren't quite on the same standard as the middle 4 episodes. And I think with the Daniel Craig era of Bond films, the ones that close with No Time to Die is rather the reverse of Doctor Who Flux. Casino Royale is good. No Time to Die is his absolute equal. The ones in between are good, are great, are wonderfully made. They're not quite on a par with the opening and closing episodes of the series. No Time to Die, as I say, is, I think, Casino Royale's equal. It's Casino Royale was setting things up and opening it. No Time to Die is closing the chapter. It's closing the book on this front. It's got a whole load of elements that Bond fans will recognise. I believe the Poison Garden, for example, is from Live and Let Die, the Japanese set episode, or novel, certainly it's featured in there. The Louis Armstrong song, All the Time in the World, featured in On Her Majesty's Secret Service when Diana Rigg's character, Tracy, gets shot on her and Bond's wedding day. Gets played at the start of the film, so there's a little hint of what's to come there, I think. Its villain, the Safin character, it's maybe not the most memorable. On the other hand, Rami Malek plays it very well. He's an Oscar winner, after all, for the Queen biopic, and he did incredibly well in Mr. Robot. So it's got a good villain, it's got genuine danger to the leading man. The cast, writing, the direction by Keiichi Fukunaga are superb. Bond's bleak and rather definitely sad final scene with missiles heading towards a trapped hero. That's going to be one of the more memorable ones, I think. I'm possibly underselling No Time to Die here, with its nods to earlier films, with its reuse of that Satchmo song, but above all, with possibly the saddest ending to a Bond film ever. It is 4 stars on my rating system of absolute joy to watch. You really have to see it. It is a superb way of closing Daniel Craig's story as James Bond. It's worth your time, and I'm going to tell you to go and see it. Finally, I'm banging on for a bit, I know I am, but finally, where should the movie go next? Where should the franchise go next? Where could it go next? I have got no idea. I mean, let's face it, with that ending, given we don't know who Daniel Craig's replacement's going to be and how the hell they're going to write themselves out of putting James Bond in, let's be honest, the grave, given Blofeld and Leiter are dead, given Spectre is wiped out, I don't know where James Bond could go next. I really don't. But I can only quote you the Léa Seydoux character, Madeleine's last line to her and Commander Bond's daughter. That line was, I'm going to tell you a story about a man. His name was Bond, James Bond. Last line of the film, practically. And the last frame, as the credits are rolling right at the end there, that last frame, is the by now traditional James Bond will return. I don't know what's going to be coming next for the character and for the franchise, but I tell you what, I'm looking forward to finding out. I hope you are too. Let's keep our eyes peeled, folks. I'll see you when I next see Doctor Who. That'll be on Friday the 24th. If all goes well, I'll see you then. Take care, have a good Christmas, have a happy New Year.